Welcome to Oh Hell No with Nicole.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Oh Hell No podcast. Today we have Shawn Chambers. He is a professional, an entrepreneur, and also a DJ. He is a founder of Lab Sounds, and we're going to talk to him and get into his business today. Welcome, Shawn.
Thank you.
So there's an interesting fun fact here. I've known Shawn as long as I've known my husband because they're cousins, but I really don't know much about Shawn. So I think that's very interesting. So the first question I have for you is, what was your major in college?
My major in college, I went to school for business administration with a concentration in hotel, restaurant, and institutional management.
Wow, that is interesting.
Yes.
So what did you want to do when you graduated? What were your plans?
My original plans were to work in a hotel, be in a hotel, more in a resort, maybe go to Jamaica and, work overseas for a little while. But those were my original plans when I was, first started school and young in college. That was the original plan.
So what happened?
That soon changed through internships and talking to certain people and looking at the hours and the time that was involved in the hotel part. And I shortly changed to institutional management, which was sort of like I worked on college campuses. I went to, eventually when I graduated from school, I worked at Disney World. I came back to New York City. I worked in the Bronx Zoo. So I kind of got into like institutional and theme parks and eventually wound up in schools. Wow. And, that's where I kind of stuck with because I kind of like the hours and like working with the people. So that's where I wound up.
So that's what you do professionally for your career is you work with the schools.
Yes.
Okay. And do you enjoy that? Do you feel like that's something still that you're passionate about?
I like it. I like the people who I work with. I like working with the kids. But I wouldn't say it's my first passion, no.
Okay. So when did you discover your passion for music?
Oh, at a very, very, very young age. As you know my brother Chris, and most of my cousins, we grew up around music all the time. We would go to family's house and we'd always have family house parties and little limes or whatever. And we just, would listen to the music and just kind of like fell in love with the music at that time. That's as far as Caribbean music. As far as American music, we grew up in the days of, when hip hop, after hip hop was discovered. I was going to say in the late 70s, early 80s, we would always go around the corner to a friend of ours, Mike Byfield's house, and he would have DJs like Breakout and all kind of people in his basement, actually DJing in the basement. And we watched them and just became like real passionate about, just DJing in general, listening to break beats and old school records and stuff like that.
Nice. So where does the name Lab Sounds come from?
Oh, this is going to be a funny one. Well, Lab Sounds started with myself, my brother Chris, and a good friend of ours named Ali. And at one time, our cousin Wayne Scott was also involved with Lab Sounds at one point. Wow. So it started off way, way back. And we were, we lived on, Laconia Avenue. So, the basement, we would all be downstairs in the basement. All the mixes were made in the basement. We would jam downstairs in the basement. The basement was on Laconia Avenue. So it started off being Laconia Avenue Boys. So we were the Laconia Avenue Boys back in the day. And that started to sound a little corny. So we shortened it and made it Lab Sounds. So LAB was for Laconia Avenue Boys.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Clever. What do you enjoy doing the most as a founding member of Lab Sounds?
Right now, I'm at a point now where I'm really enjoying watching, everyone else like grow in the music business, whether they're actually down with Lab Sounds or not. I enjoy doing sounds like we also provide sound for other DJs. And just music all around. When we're actually not DJing and say we're setting up a sound system for somebody, the joy of just listening to it sometimes, makes me happy. When we work with, certain DJs, just looking at them work, working with my brother and Jermaine and the rest, just watching the growth and the talent and listening to the music, that just keeps me going.
Yeah, that's what's up. So what is your favorite genre of music?
Reggae is number one. Always has been.
Me too. Do you like more dance hall or more, reggae?
But I have equal love for both. As everyone said, 90s dance hall and 80s dance hall was a better time.
Hmm.
Or to me, the music was better back then. But I still enjoy a lot of the new stuff that's out right now. So I have a 50-50 love for both reggae and dance hall.
So tell us, how did you learn how to DJ? Because I know when I was coming up, I used to know this guy who DJ'd. And one time he tried to show me how to, like work the turntables, and I just could not get it. So did you learn by yourself or did someone teach you? How did that happen?
We basically just learned by watching others. Like I said, we would go in Mike Byfield's house around the corner and watch him and his friends just work on the turntables. And he was one of the few that would let young kids like me and my brother actually get on the turntables and actually use them and not run us away from the turntables. So we basically watched them and just basically learned on our own, basically just watching others.
Okay. So is this something you would ever want to do full time, or are you okay with it just being a side thing?
I'm okay with on the side for now. I wouldn't mind doing it full time, but to be honest with you, right now at my age, I'm really pushing the younger people to kind of come up and do their thing. As far as the DJ part, sound, I can do sound forever, right? I can provide sound for DJs forever. As long as music is involved, I want to be involved in the music or the DJ or the sound in some way, shape, or form forever. So to answer your question, yes. But the DJ part, I can't really see myself at 65 years old still DJing. I can do it for my pleasure, or for a house party, or for people at my age who actually want to hear music from our days. But I think at a certain age I'll probably hang up the headphones and let the younger ones rock out for a little while.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah. But the sound, as far as sound and being involved in the DJ world and being involved with the DJs, I think I can do that forever.
Okay. So why do you think, in your opinion, that some DJs make it big and can make hundreds of thousands of dollars and some never make it to that level? Do you think there's any formula or anything that's going on, or do you think it's like a racial thing, or what do you think based on your observation?
I think you have to have a real passion for it, a real passion for it. There's always luck involved sometimes, right? You got to be, in the right place at the right time, and you got to kind of be amongst the right people. It's a business, no matter how you put it, and you got to put yourself out there, whether it's through social media or mixtapes or whatever. You have to put yourself out there, and people can hear you. We live in a day and age now where you can sit in your living room, make a mix CD or a podcast, and it goes all over the world. When you check your podcast, they're listening to in Europe, Africa, Australia, Japan, everything. So it's about the material you put out and how consistent you are putting out that material. I would use Private Ryan as an example. He's very consistent with his music, and he's very consistent with the material he puts out, and he puts it out and he gives the people what they want to hear, and it's out there all the time. So as a result of that, he's very, very successful, in that market, in his market.
Yeah, that's true. And I have to say, I never saw DJs like how they are today. They're like, it's almost like a show. They come on, they have all this visual behind them, and it's like they can just do their thing and people can just pay attention to them and vibe out. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to when back in the day, it was like the DJ was in a booth someplace and you didn't really, you know what I mean?
Exactly. So when I say, when you talk lab sounds, that's us. We're more music first. We're not the person who wants to be, in the limelight. Not the person who's going to be, with his shades on and posing and taking all these pictures to glorify ourselves. That's just not the old lab sounds. Maybe the up and coming lab sounds, I wouldn't stop them from doing that because, like you said, it can be lucrative. But I think that's what it is. DJs now, you got to market. You got to market more than just the music. You got to market yourself. And if you can do that and do that the right way, I mean, as you can see, sky's the limit. People are getting, $1 million gigs in Las Vegas or whatever, depending on what genre you're in and what you have a passion for.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is the most difficult part of the business for you?
The most difficult part of the business for me is when you do work for certain promoters or certain people, they never want to pay what you're worth. Right? You give them a price and it's never good enough. They always try to beat you in the head to get the price down lower. Whereas if they went to another person or, a different, I don't want to say more professional, or I'm going to say, a different kind of sound or lighting company, someone they would find, in the yellow pages or
Yeah.
they get a price and they work with that price. You know what I mean? They don't ask, oh, can I get this off or can I get that off? They don't assume they're going to get, be able to, get you for cheaper.
Right. Haggle.
A lot of times you'll go out, you'll work, and I'm talking, you'll work, you'll do sound, set up everything, and you'll, kill yourself doing this work all day long. And at the end of the night, you're looking at the promoter and you're looking for the promoter to pay you. Or, you're the last one to get paid. Or you got to be chasing people down a week later, because they're telling you, oh, we're going to send it to you on PayPal or, Cash App or whatever. And you never see that money. Or you do see it for the most part, but it takes a while. You're always last on the totem pole.
So do you think that maybe, and that segues into my next question, because I was going to ask, how do you guys determine what to charge people for a gig? But do you do like a deposit for booking and then maybe on the day of the event you have to be paid in full? Or is that something that's frowned upon in the industry?
Well, as far as lab sounds, like in our circle, if we work with a lot of promoters who we've known and worked with and came up with for a long time. So they're basically like family. And although they're considered family, those are the same, family members that I'm talking about who sometimes it's hard to get a payment from. And on the other hand, we do have our corporate, accounts who we've also worked with for a very, very long time, who are always, a bit easier. You always, get your deposits or, get your payments on time or by check or whatever the case may be. So it really depends. Like, we're not going to, there's a lot of people who we work with and, we're accustomed to working with them and we work with them and, we'll not really beat them down for a deposit or whatever the case may be. So that's just how it is. I mean, that can be, can hurt us at times or whatever, but we're not really, down on people like that. And I think promoters know that if they work with us, we're going to give them a good quality product. We're not going to stress them, beat them in the head, because we know they have other things they're concerned with, but eventually they do get back to us with, with payment or whatever.
Okay. All right. So for a number of years, you have been having an event called Reggae on the Water. What inspired you to start doing this event?
Reggae on the Water. Yes, we started Reggae on the Water about 11 years ago. So we had another corporate account. We were working with a company called New York Water Taxi that owned the Zephyr. And the Zephyr was the boat that we started doing Reggae on the Water. So we started working on the Zephyr. We had a weekly gig. So we DJ'd on the Zephyr every Saturday. While we were on there, we just decided, why don't we do our own boat ride on the Zephyr and we'll just call it Reggae on the Water. So we just decided one day we decided to buy out all the tickets. So say we had a Saturday night dance cruise was the name of the boat ride that we DJ'd every Saturday on the Zephyr. It left from South Street Seaport. One weekend, we decided to buy out all the tickets at a discounted price from New York Water Taxi. So we bought out the boat and we sold the tickets as our own boat ride. So we were basically just selling had the Saturday night dance cruise, but we turned it into Reggae on the Water because we bought all the tickets. That turned out, that was, kind of a success the first time we did it. So we continued to do it the following year and the year after that, until we just decided to, book out the entire boat. And that's how we started doing Reggae in the Water on the Zephyr.
Nice. So how has the event evolved and where do you want to see it go?
The event evolved a lot. The event probably started when we did our first Reggae on the Water. We probably had about 150 people. Then we took it up to about 600 people on the Zephyr at one point. And from there, came off the water recently, up until last year, and we're having it at La Marina. We do want it to grow, but we want to keep it authentic. We don't want it to grow into one of those events where we're doing 10,000 people for Reggae on the Water, because we kind of enjoy the vibe with the smaller crowd. So I'm thinking 600 might be top. We don't want it to go over 600 people as far as Reggae on the Water is concerned. If we're going to start to do bigger numbers, we'll probably change it to have another event and name it something else. But as far as Reggae on the Water, I like the way it's been going over the past few years. I like the smaller crowd. I like the smaller vibe. I like the more intimate setting that we have it in.
Okay. Are you interested in doing other types of events like this throughout the year? I know that you do other gigs, and you have little events, Caribbean inspired events, but do you have any plans to do anything else kind of like Reggae on the Water, maybe in the fall or the winter or anything like that?
Okay. We're not going to do Reggae on the Water in the fall or the winter as for right now. We have another event that we've done on and off that we call Resurrection. So Resurrection, we always do around a little bit after the New Year. So it's either like probably a week or so after New Year's. And on some occasions, we've done it before on Boxing Day. So we we're trying to play with a permanent date. It depends on when the holiday falls during Christmas. So Resurrection, we've had anywhere between January 26th and maybe, after January 1st.
Okay.
In addition to that, we've been doing the Caribbean Cult. And Caribbean Cult is a brunch series that we've been working on with DJ Commish. How do you might know? So this Caribbean Cult is DJ Commish and Lab Sounds, where we kind of have a brunch, and we have a brunch menu that is basically we try to follow a different Caribbean island every time we have the brunch. So we kind of trying to design it around the carnival. So if it's around Trinidad, we'll kind of have Trinidadian cuisine. If it's around Jamaica Carnival, we'll have Jamaican cuisine, and so on and so forth.
Nice. Shout out to DJ Commish. She was on the show the other day, so got to shout him out. So, what would you say is the most difficult part of putting these events together?
The most difficult part of putting the events together lately has been just the challenges with the venues. We've had a lot of challenges with venues, hence why Reggae on the Water was taken off a boat and taken to La Marina. There's always different challenges with the venues. Rules are always changing. Counts are always changing. You can only have this many amount of people. Another challenge is just trying to get the price point right. We're not into gouging our customers to try and make all kinds of profits off the customers. We just want people to come out and have a good time. That's payment enough for us as people to have a good time. But at the same time, we're trying to have, as far as Reggae on the Water, we're trying to have an all-inclusive event where people can leave their wallets at home. We want you to come out. We want you to eat good food, really good food. And we want you to be able to drink, top shelf liquor all night long. So challenges come when it comes to pricing that, because when you go to a venue and you say, look, we want Johnny Black, we want Henny, we want Ciroc, and we want Patron, and we want it all inclusive. We don't want our people to take out any money. We want them to just drink. It's sort of like, okay, you got to hear the prices that they give you for that. And, at times we're trying not to, of course the customer has to pay that price, but we try to make it, very, very tight where we don't have to, gouge people for that money, because we want them to come out and have a good time.
Right. Absolutely. And it is a good time. I've been to just about all of them, so it's a good time. So is there any gig that you are opposed to taking?
For me, I'm going to say I don't really have many restrictions. My thing is I want to be able to do gigs that I can, play music for the people that I understand and I can make sure they enjoy it. I don't want to reach out in a genre that I'm not very familiar with and just go do a party or have one of my people go and do a party. So just say for instance, someone is booking me for, a Latin event, right? I know that's not my expertise. That's not what I know. I know I can go online. I can look up every top 20 or top 40 Latin hit and put it in a crate and go to this event and play this party because I have all the music. But it's still not the same. As a DJ, it's not the same feel. A DJ can go in there and think I have every Latin song and I'm lined up and I can go inside there and rock this party. But you can't. You can't, because you don't have, the actual feel for it. That's sort of like, an EDM DJ coming to do a dance hall or a soca party just because he downloaded all of the music. There's certain cues, there's certain songs that are going to play, and you cut it off at the wrong time, and the crowd will look at you like you're crazy, right? That's sort of like I have a conversation I have with Jermaine when he was a young DJ. He had a party and we were playing All About the Benjamins. And he cut off All About the Benjamins before the Little Kim verse.
Oh no. Mm-mm.
Okay. So that's just an example. There might be a Latin song. There might be a Latin All About the Benjamins. And me not knowing as a DJ, even though I downloaded the song, stopped the verse before the Little Kim verse. And all of a sudden the crowd is not happy. So that's just an example of it.
Wow,
So
that is a great example because I never thought about that, and that is vital.
Exactly. So it doesn't necessarily mean because you have all the music that you're going to go inside there and you're going to do such a good job at the party, because we go to soca parties, we go to these reggae parties, and we're into our music. We love our music. We love the way it's played, and we go off a vibe. And the DJ can mess up a vibe very, very easily if he doesn't really know what he's doing, no matter what kind of music or how much music he has in his library.
Yep, that's a good one. So, what skill would you say you have acquired from running this business that you didn't have before you really started to get into this like you are today?
Sorry, repeat that.
What skill would you say you have acquired from running the Lab Sounds business that you did not have before you started doing it the way you're doing it today? Like today, you're heavy into this Lab Sounds business, right? You rent equipment, you deal with promoters, you having events, you're doing all sorts of things, right? So what is something that you can say that you acquired just from having to deal with the trials and tribulations of this business, which could be a good thing, you know, acquiring a new skill, but the skill came out of a necessity to run this business?
I'm going to say patience. Right? Patience. I'm learning to deal with people outside of my 9-to-5 working.
Yeah.
And my, you know, just being out on the streets and not dealing with the street promoters and, you know, just dealing with different genres of music and different promoters. And, you know, I just kind of learned to kind of work people outside of the school food forum or school food atmosphere.
Yeah. So outside of that professional, like, if you will, corporate-y world where you have things are structured in a different way.
Exactly. And you kind of learn it's sort of like it's a balance. You got to kind of be seen. So you have to be out at times, but you also got to balance. You don't have to be everywhere all the time. You know, you can be working on business without being at every single party, because being at every single party doesn't really benefit you if you're not working. But sometimes there is a benefit to being, you know, up and out at times and not on the clock.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So do you feel like you are in tune with your life's purpose?
You know, I do. I definitely do. At times, you know, it gets rough, but it never gets rough to the point where I said, well, you know, to hell with this. I'm not doing this anymore or whatever. You know, me and my team, we get into it at times. You know, the team, we got Puffy, Raja, who was the same person. Andrew, who's been with us for a while, but Andrew's kind of on a you know, a scale back, you know, position right now because Andrew's been going through some things.
Yep.
Chris, everyone knows Chris. Chris is more the face of Lab Sounds than me, if you ask me. Jermaine, you know, I keep busy. You know what I mean? Like, you know, Jelani and Julian, my other son, that comes in at times. But, you know, it's never to a point where no matter how much some of it, you know, we get into it and we go back and forth. And I think this goes for all of us. We never, you know, get to a point where we're like, you know, to hell with this. You know what I mean? It's not worth it. And it's not even like we're making, you know, tons of money,
right,
you know, doing this. You know what I mean? And so I think everyone's really passionate about it. And we enjoy it, you know, we enjoy it. Whether money's being made or money's not being made, we enjoy, you know, just the talk of music and sound. Once it's a conversation, we just enjoy it.
So tell me 3 things you're passionate about.
As far as
anything across the board, just 3 things. If you had to name 3 things that you're passionate about
in
life, in life,
music or life.
Yeah.
Oh man, my family. My family was, you know, my wife, my kids.
Yeah.
Right. You know, when it comes to, well, music, definitely. When I say music, I'm not just talking about DJing, because, you know, anyone who knows us will know, if, you know, when it comes to DJing and you're talking Lab Sounds, you know, Chris is more upfront and Jermaine is kind of even DJing more than me nowadays. I've turned into more of the the business person when it comes to the DJ gigs or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
As passion, I'm still very, very passionate about music, all kinds of music. And when I say music, I'm talking about sound, how music sounds, how music is made. When I go out, I like to hear music played on on a sound system that I can feel it in my chest and it sounds good. So I'm very passionate about music and sound. And, the last thing I would say I'm passionate about is just, my circle of people who I hang out with, whether it's family, whether it's friends or, associates. I'm very, passionate about, the people who I'm around or the people I'm associated with. I have a good amount of friends,
Mm-hmm.
but my circle is a knit circle.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm very passionate about them. And everyone knows who they are.
Okay. All right. So I always ask my guests about their oh hell no moments, but we're going to segue into talking a little bit about your sons, and then I'm going to get your moment. So think about it while you can. You have two sons who DJ. Your youngest actually started at a very young age, and he's 8 right now and booking gigs. When did you realize that he had a gift for this business?
Well, I realized Jelani had a gift. There was a time when we always have a little setup. I always have a little DJ setup in my house. So there was a setup in the living room, a small DJ controller, and Jelani would sometimes get on the controller and mess around with it and start to DJ and play songs. So there was a time when we make our podcast. So there was a podcast that was made, a Reggae Award mix podcast, and I thought the podcast was playing. So I was in the dining room and I hear music playing in the living room, and I'm thinking it's the podcast because I heard a mix that sounded similar to the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And when I walk into the living room, I realized it wasn't the podcast. It was Jelani actually doing the exact same mix that Chris done. That's when I said, wait a minute, we might have. So for them, just to see that, it was really doing this. And it was really Jelani doing this. And this was at the age of 4. And this was like on beat. So I was just amazed at the time that he can actually do it.
Wow. All right. So how do you manage Jelani's schedule and decide what events he should play?
First, it depends on his availability. As long as there's no school or anything involved and it's not a school night, then Jelani's basically available. But the challenges come in some of the bookings that, like someone called the other day for an event for Jelani, a Halloween event, and they wanted Jelani to do an event. They said, we have a Halloween party. It's in Brooklyn, and we need Jelani to play from, the party starts at 2 and it ends at 9 o'clock. And we want Jelani to play. And I'm saying to the lady, like, do you know that that's 7 hours of straight DJ time? And they don't realize playing 7 hours for a DJ, is a lot for an adult.
Yeah.
So Jelani to play for 7 hours is not going to happen. That's too long of a time for Jelani to play. So it's kind of, you got to kind of get the people who are booking him to kind of understand that.
Wow.
So, yeah, so depending on the schedule and the timing or whatever, that's how we decide whether or not Jelani can actually take a gig or not.
All right. Well, now I'm going to take some time to talk to Jelani. So can we get Jelani on the mic?
Hello.
Hi, Jelani. Welcome to the Oh Heck No podcast, because you're 8. So thank you for being on the podcast, Jelani. First, I'd like to ask you, what do you love the most about DJing? Jelani.
He's here giggling.
Come on, we want to know. What do you love about it?
The songs.
Okay, what about the songs? Do you love mixing the songs? Do you love the rhythm of the music? Like, what do you love about DJing? Do you love the way people react to when you play the songs? What gets you excited about playing music?
Mixing.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
What else, Jelani?
That's it.
Jelani.
And recording.
Oh, he says and recording.
And recording.
Yeah.
So what was the hardest thing for you to learn how to do? When you were messing around with the mixing and the listening to the music, what was something that you felt like you really needed to practice a lot because, it was a little bit more difficult?
Mixing on beat.
Mixing on beat. Okay, that's very interesting. So what would be your dream gig? If someone said you can play any gig you wanted to play, what would you say that you would want to play? Like for whose party?
Trinidad Carnival.
Wow. Trinidad Carnival. Okay. What kind of music do you like to play? What's your favorite genre of music?
Africa.
Wow, really? I like Afro beats too. Do you see yourself becoming a big world famous DJ, or is this something that you really just like to do on the side?
I like to do it.
Okay. But do you see yourself doing it like as a grown up?
And I like playing basketball.
Oh, okay. So you see yourself more as a professional basketball player?
No.
So what do you want to be when you grow up?
DJ and a basketball player.
Okay, that's fair. If one of your classmates came up to you and said, Jelani, I want to learn how to DJ just like you, what advice would you give them? What would you tell them to do?
Practice.
Practice. Practice makes perfect. Can you tell us 3 things that you're passionate about at the age of 8 today?
Play basketball.
Okay, that's one.
Play music.
Okay, and what else? One more thing you like to do that you're passionate about?
Football.
Football. He says football.
Okay. All right. So we always ask our guests to share a moment with us, right? An oh heck no moment. Have you had a moment that you feel so happy about, or a moment where you were really scared because you were worried that things weren't gonna turn out in a good way? Like maybe you were DJing for somebody and something happened and you had to get yourself together and you were like, oh my God, this is gonna be terrible, but it worked out.
Curl Fest.
So what happened at Curl Fest? Tell us.
When people keep jumping on the stage, that's when the needle just kept jumping up.
And when the needle jumps up, what happens?
When the needle goes up, that when the music's, and I use turntables, so it was hard.
Oh, so you had to get the music sounding right because people were jumping and the needle was moving?
At Curl Fest, it was his first time using 1,200 turntables for a big crowd. Just so happened it happened in front of 25,000 people. So he kind of had to adjust at Curl Fest to do his set. It turned out okay.
Wow, that's great, Jelani. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing a little bit about your experiences with us. Can you tell everyone where they can follow you on Instagram?
At Lab Sound Jelani.
Okay, thank you, Jelani. All right, Shawn. So back to you and your oh hell no moment. So you have to share a moment with us that was a no hell no moment for you. It could be a positive moment. It could be a negative moment. It could have something to do with work, personal, whatever. But we want to know.
So, oh hell no moment is what? I want to make sure I give you the right thing.
So an oh hell no moment is a moment of shock or disbelief. It could be experienced by yourself or involving someone else, asking you to do something, telling you to do something, or expecting something from you that you really weren't prepared to deliver. Or it could be something that you received that you were not prepared to receive and it was exciting or, something beneficial. And you're like, oh, hell no, this is great. So it could be a negative moment or a positive moment.
Ooh, oh man, I got to think about this one. Oh hell no moment. Well, I don't want to repeat what Jelani said when I got to Curl Fest. That was an oh hell no moment for me when I saw the actual setup that was there, because we were told that we got a certain setup, which was CDJs and a mixer. So Jelani was ready and prepared to use that. And then when I got there to see the setup, I was like, oh, hell no. This is what he's going to have to use, because, he had never practiced on that before. And this was sort of like, this was a very huge platform. And, and it would have been good. It was going to be good for Jelani. And at that point, I was like, this is going to be a disaster. But it turned out that I was more concerned than Jelani at that point, because Jelani wasn't even worried. He was calm and cool about the situation. So it was kind of both, because when Jelani went up on the stage and actually did use his 1200s, I was like, oh hell no, again, he knows how to use them. So that's a double oh hell no moment for me.
So where do you think this comes from, where he's so able to adapt to situations with equipment and pick up, how to use the equipment and stuff? Like, where do you think that comes from for him?
I'm honestly, I'm going to say that doesn't come from me. I think that more comes from, being around people like, Chris, my brother, and Jermaine. Those are the really technical ones.
Mm-hmm.
We call Jermaine IT.
Okay.
So I think it's more, being around them, because as you can see and as you hear, like, I panic in those situations.
Yeah.
And those guys are more, they're a little bit more calmer and cooler and get it settled, get it done.
So you think he just really observes them and then he goes ahead and just tries to do what he saw and he's successful at it?
Exactly. Jelani learned, I can definitely say he learned just from listening and looking at what other people do.
Wow.
And he repeated it. So Jelani kind of learned from, like I said, he listened to other people's mixes and he repeated it and did it on his own until he started to develop his own style and, start to select his own music and create his own library and do it on his own. But he learned from definitely listening and watching others.
Wow, that's amazing. All right. Well, Shawn, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Please tell us where we can follow, Lab Sounds and keep up with the events, and, tell us a little bit about your upcoming event, what day it is, time, all those good things.
Okay, you can follow at Lab Sounds. You can follow us at Lab Sounds on IG, and you can follow me at Lab Sounds Shawn. You can follow Chris at Lab Sounds Chris. You can follow Jermaine at Lab Sounds DJ Tracks, and that's TRAXS for Jermaine. And we also have Puffy at Lab Sounds Puffy. And let's talk about, and we have up and coming for Labor Day weekend. We have Reggae on the Water coming again. And Reggae on the Water is going to be on September 1st at La Marina, in the same area we had it last year. For those who were listening that came last year, there's a brand new deck. It's been renovated. We have a tent that's a huge tent in case of rain. We won't get wet. I'm praying it doesn't rain anyway, but you won't get wet. We'll be safe. We got a nice menu planned for you. The food is coming from at Chef Chrissy, from a place to go. And the vibes are going to be, as usual. If you haven't been before, make sure you come out and be ready to dance. Reggae on the Water is not your party where you come and you stand up and look around. Reggae on the Water is where we come out, we eat, we drink, and we party. And the vibe is extra when you come to Reggae on the Water.
Yes,
Okay, so
that's amazing. It rained last year and people were having an amazing time in the rain. It was great. I mean, we weren't literally in the rain, but it was raining, so It was great.
It's all inclusive, food and drink included. And you can get tickets if you go to our website, labsounds.com or Eventbrite. That's where you can get your tickets.
Awesome.